The National Hispanic Institute began in 1979. It was founded by a gentleman by the name of Ernesto Nieto. It was a very different time in the United States, as you all can imagine, at that period in particular. I was born in 1978, just to help things, to frame it all. Ernie, who is still alive today and is still the president of the National Hispanic Institute, is 86 years old. What he saw then was a growing Latino population in the United States, which, if you all want a little framework for this, it had doubled from 1 million to 2 million, from 2 million to 4 million. And right around the late 70s, it was growing into a population closer to, I want to say, 6 million or so. As a significant population near the border and throughout Texas, where the Institute was originally created, there was a divide. There's been a race divide throughout the Southwest, across America. And ever since 1848, with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, you have a unique population that lives in the United States that has faced a discriminatory system and injustice heavily throughout the 1900s. And by the time you get to the Civil Rights era and going into the 1970s, what NHI was a response, not in the way that I think people glorify this Chicano movement in a manner where it was about organized labor or equal housing rights. But it was a discussion really about how we're going to move forward as a community with a cohesive agenda. And the recognition that the National Hispanic Institute really has maintained since the beginning is that our most powerful, our most capable resource are our youth. They're your children. Okay, and in the education system of the United States of America, Mexican-American children and other populations, Puerto Rican, Cuban, et cetera, have historically faced barriers for access. For this population, getting to the 9th grade has historically been a challenge due to other social factors that have influenced educational outcomes. But in the 70s and in the 80s, there was this emergence of a population of first-generation degree holders, okay? And some of you might be part of that, or your parents are part of that, depends on where you are in the journey. But they faced obstacles in college. It wasn't designed for people from San Diego or near the border, at all. And I went to these institutions, and I know really these origins firsthand. But what happened was that by the 70s and by the 80s, there was this talented group of kids, just like your children today, that were either going to go into these systems blindly, be at the mercy of the institution, hopefully adapt properly and speak English effectively and answer the questions, in the best way possible to pass all the tests to get to the top, and then hopefully go on to maybe law school or medical school or something along those lines. But the numbers were really few and far between. And the challenges were there, and there were very few professors that even spoke Spanish to their students or had a similar journey. And in the 1979, what was happening is that even if you had the degrees and you were a professional, the newly integrated systems of government weren't designed to absorb you. Okay? That's how it was. So the Institute began to recognize through experimentation that there were ways to develop young people to be leadership ready to guide a growing population, which was going to double again and get to 30 million people, beyond 30 million people by the year 2000, when none of these kids are even born yet. So the population continues to grow. But what has happened throughout this journey, with or without NHI's effort, what was really designed to happen was that the educational system was never intended to absorb so much success. And I'm not saying this with a chip on my shoulder or any attitude about any racial population at all. I'm just saying that it had limited success with this population of students. Yet, they persist and they thrive. And so what happens is that if you're not careful, your children will be in a great charter school in Chula Vista or in a great public school in San Diego, or will be going somewhere. Maybe even will end up at this university. But their concept of why they're getting the degree is what you're trying to get them to have a discussion about today. What's the point of the educational journey? Is it about income? Is it about the cost of the degree? We get caught up in that as parents. I have kids. I know the cost of their education there is a factor that all of us really have to consider, but why go? Right? We got AI now. We're in a changing time where education is ultimately going to arm your children in all kinds of ways, and we hope that our educational model keeps up with the world around us. But that's where you as parents and organizations like the National Hispanic Institute come together, because our kids are our future leaders. Our kids are our future intellectuals. If we treat them as such, if we challenge them to be effective young leaders at 14, 15, 16, 17, they will get skill sets beyond what their high schools ever intended. The community, desperately in need of a leadership population that could take it to another level as it continues to grow in a very challenging time, ultimately needs more young and capable people who can lead others, can work well together, who can problem solve, who can understand the journey of the past, who can apply their cultural capabilities all at the same time, while also doing well in school and being great kids at home. Ideally, that's like the perfect child. But the young leader has to challenge themselves at every opportunity to basically gain these skill sets. What you have at this program, and going back to how the Institute created these, is that by, let's see, what would it have been? I think this comes out in 1990. 1989, pardon me. Oh, excuse me. In 1989, it starts to become experimented in Austin at Concordia University, if I remember correctly. What it became was something that I got to experience, my sister got to experience in the early 90s. Eventually, I became the guy that took kids to these competitions as well. And what the competitions are all about is that they will gain public speaking confidence. They will become stronger at the art of persuasion. Some of them, half of them, will take on team competitions where they learn how to work with a partner, much like a set of attorneys. But they'll learn how to think together and argue together and defend their ideas together. All these skill sets seem like it's just for fun. But what Ernie's concept was that, well, what if we get them to learn these basic communication skills as the fundamental elements of leadership, expressing and defending your ideas, being able to handle yourself in a higher ed institution and thrive in competition and pressure, just like what's happening or what will happen when they enter down the road. If they do well, or if they don't do so well in this competition, it's really not the intent of the Great Debate to make them the ultimate speaker. It's to get them aware of what they need to work towards in their capabilities as communicators. They will walk away from this program different. You will see tremendous change, which I think some of you have older kids and have seen it as well. But from this program, two things are going to happen. Your kids are going to do well, and hopefully they'll continue going to the next NHI program, which is longer and is even better and it does even cooler things. But the more important thing that you see in what Paola has introduced is that there's a legacy of volunteerism that is a different form of leadership that the Institute really tries to promote. We do these programs to make sure we're growing young leaders. But the people growing young leaders are young leaders. It's not old people like me. And so what you'll see at this program is really where students from last year, or maybe even the year before that, and some undergraduates as well, come together to help to make sure that these kids and this tradition continues. Young leaders growing young leaders. What the Institute really is trying to do is make sure that while your kids are in high school, that during the summertime, they go into these unusual learning environments. They're very compressed, but they meet kids from everywhere, north and south of the border, from the northern part of the county to the interior to the border, wherever. Your kids need to have friends from beyond their normal social circles. They need to be around other college-bound kids. They need to see that there's a range of perspectives. But the next year's program will give them even more, and the next one after that, the process will continue. My hope is that as parents, that because you can see that not everyone could be here, but you are active in each of these students' lives, and one of the greatest things you can provide for them is your own volunteerism, just in supporting their activities with the Institute, but also to know that you want to encourage your kids to become the next wave of volunteers that prioritize the development of young people. That concept is really what is being transferred in this program, along with our communication capabilities. But our goal really here is to give you the first step into a journey that we work on together, sometimes for just a handful of years, and sometimes for decades. So thank you for your time today. And I appreciate it.